Okay, it being 5 p.m., the Lafourche Parish Council meeting of January 26, 2021 is hereby called to order. Ms. Carleen, can you please conduct roll call?
Yes, sir. Mr. Jones. Mr. Adams. Mr. Grow is running late. He's stuck in traffic. Mr. Melvin. Mr. Wendell. Mr. Grofit. Mr. Otan.
Here.
Mrs. Chesson.
Here.
Mr. Lorraine. And Mr. Chesson.
Very good. Thank you, Ms. Carleen. As she stated, Councilman Grove is stuck in traffic on I-12, but he should be here shortly. With that said, I want to welcome everyone to tonight's meeting. If you are interested in addressing the council, we do have blue forms at the door. Please fill one out, bring it up to Ms. Carleen. We'll make sure to recognize you at public wishing to address the council. Good. With that said, if everyone would please rise, we'll be led in the invocation by Mr. Graubear, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance by Mr. Jones. Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we'll jump right into our agenda. Item A, approval of minutes. At this time, I entertain a motion to accept the minutes of the January 12, 2021 regular session. So moved by Mr. Wendell, second by Mr. Adams. Any discussion? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes by a vote of 8 yeas, 0 nays, and 1 absence. That absence being Mr. Grove. Item B, we have none, Ms. Corleen. Brings us to item C, proclamations. Number 2, proclamation proclaiming February 1st through the 5th, 2021 as National School Counseling Week. Mr. President, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have a proclamation tonight proclaiming it as National School Counseling Week. And whereas school counselors are employed in Lafourche Parish at all levels to help students reach their full potential, and whereas school counselors are actively committed to helping students explore their abilities, strengths, interests, and talents, as these traits relate to career awareness and development. And whereas school counselors help parents and guardians focus on ways to further the educational, personal, and social growth of their children. And whereas school counselors work with teachers and other educators to help students explore their potential and set realistic goals for themselves. And whereas school counselors seek to identify and utilize community resources that can enhance the comprehensive school counseling programs to help students be productive members of society. And whereas comprehensive development school counseling programs are considered an integral part of the educational process that establishes or enables all students to achieve success in schools. Now therefore, I, Archie Chesson, President of the Parish, do hereby proclaim February 1st through the 5th, 2021 as National School Counseling Week. I believe we have at least one of the counselors here with us to accept this.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Item D, presentations and or updates. Item number 3, Mr. Robert Landry, Director of Lafourche Parish Recreation District number 8 Board, to present an annual report. Mr. Landry, you have the floor. Just make sure the mic's on. Yes, sir. Absolutely, Mr. Landry. You have to push that little button on the top. Bingo.
Okay. I need my glasses. Okay, my name is Robert Landry. I'm Recreation Director in District 8 in Gaines. Our board consists of Freddie Brewer III, who is the chairman, Jeremiah Champagne, co-chair, Damon Babin, Cody Gotro, and Michael Le Guin Jr. Our secretary is Linda Toops, and my recreation helper is Charlene Dobbin. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic, we had no recreation activities in 2020, much to my disappointment. So we used 2020 as a year to spruce up our complex. We had laxed a little bit on that since consolidation took place. So now, how did we do this? What funds did we use? Well, in 2019, our monies were in a special account with the council. I mean, when the consolidation took place. So we needed to open a new checking account because our monies had been depleted and the account expired. So we transferred $1,000 from the council account to do that. Then Mr. Chesson, our parish president, transferred 60% of our recreation district funds to us at the beginning of 2020. So that was $216,000. So we had $217,000 to work with. So these are some of the projects that we did. I've got the price, the cost down, but I'm just going to go ahead and give you what we did. If you want to know how much, you can ask me. I hauled 14 loads of dirt on the ballpark. I replaced the old fencing around the playground area. I installed a new merry-go-round in the playground. We trimmed all the trees on our complex, and we had to remove 2 of them. Lightning hit one cypress tree, it was gone, and an oak tree was, the roots were growing over the walking track, elevating about 30 feet of the track, so that was a little dangerous. So we got the tree taken out, we got to take care of the track part now. We pressure washed the pavilion, all the cement around it, and all the playground equipment. We installed 6 new fans, replacing the old ones under the pavilion. We replaced all of the lightings around the walking track with LED lights. We signed a new lease with the Vasher Gaines Community Center. We hired a new groundskeeper, Mr. Lean Tooth. We paid him $10 an hour. We hired a new cleaning lady. Ms. Charlene Davan took that position because we feel like with the virus, we need to clean up after people use the pavilion. Let me explain a little bit about Gaines Recreation District 8 to New York council people. We're the smallest district in the parish. We have no organized teams. Our kids play ball and racing in Lafourche. And in turn, we let them come and do biddy in our community centers. We one hand wash each other's. So we have to use our monies to improve our little community. That's what we try to do with our recreation money, okay? So with adding all these costs and with legal fees and maintenance repairs and utilities, office expenses, and advertisement, in 2020, we spent $57,914. Now remember, we had no revenue coming in because we had lost our millage with the consolidation, but we went back to the taxpayers in 2019, and they approved us, but we didn't get anything in the year 2020. We start in 2021. So this is all we had to work with, okay? So right now, we have a balance of approximately $142,866 in our account. What we propose to do in 2021, well, I need a new lawnmower. Our lawnmower is 10 years old. I've gotten 3 quotes, and we're gonna have to spend about $12,000 for a new lawnmower. The biggest project is gonna be, we have to replace our tennis courts. And we've got to be very careful with it. This is a $100,000 plus project. So that will curtail some of our smaller projects this year. So that's the 2 biggest ones we have to work with in 2021. I've got the cement work, I told you all on the walking track and all. Now, landscaping around the monument, we've done that already. We replaced all the old scrubbings, and we planted new flowers and all. It looks good. I want to do some more electrical additions, dusted on lights under the pavilion and a floodlight. And I like just to resume normal recreation activities this year. That's my main goal. Hopefully we can do that, okay? Miss Brandy Kearns, by the way, right now has our paperwork. Is doing our audit. So we need to get that back in. So that's being worked on. That's it.
Thank you very much, Mr. Oddman, for that detailed report. Anyone has any questions or comments for Mr. Oddman? Mr. Lorraine?
I just wanted, like 2019, you didn't bring in any revenue. Do you remember what you brought in 2000?
2020.
Okay, I'm sorry, what, you brought some in 2019, your tax?
Yes, about,
You don't remember, you remember what it was?
between 80 and 100, we were running.
Okay, 80 and 100, so now, I'm sure you collected now, this
gonna
year, you
start
done
this
got
year.
1 or 2 checks so far.
We
Is
got
that
one-
close to last?
One revenue sharing of $3,500, that's all we've gotten so far this year. Unless,
Usually the first one is a big one,
no, we got a smaller one, first one.
small, you might get a big one on the second one.
Hopefully.
No, but the point I'm trying to make is, I was just trying to see what you collected the last year
Previously.
versus, because it should be a little less,
We figured that, yes, with the economy, you know,
but,
we figured that.
you do pretty well over there.
Thank you, sir.
And I see you put on a little weight too. It's a long time I didn't see you.
My brother, Rabbit, found what I lost.
Oh, he gave you some? Okay.
But look, anytime y'all want to visit our complex, that pavilion we have, it's a kitchen and 2 baths. Last year, it wasn't used that much, but any other year, every weekend, I have weddings, family reunions, graduation, I mean, it's used. It really is. So that's how we use our monies in games.
Very good, thank you, Mr.
Okay.
Admin, appreciate that report.
Thank y'all.
Item number 4, Mr. Spence Grosoni, Fire Chief and Board Member of the Lafourche Parish Fire Protection District Number 9 Board, to present an annual report. You got the floor, Chief.
Spence Chesson, 213 Deferred Street, Gainesville, Louisiana. We have 4 members on our board. We have 1 vacancy. Our chairman, Harris Griffin, Glenn Sape, Mark Bro, and myself. Last year, we actually brought in about $75,000. 60,000 of that was ad valorem taxes. We actually spent a little bit more than what we took in at 77.9. And Ms. Carleen has that reporting where everything went.
Spence, if you don't mind, please let the record reflect that Mr. Grove has entered the chambers at 17:12. That's 5:12 p.m. for you, Ms. Carleen. Sorry, Spence. Continue, Chief.
No problem, bud. Okay, so where everything went. In 2020, our fire service calls, and you have this information in front of you. I gave y'all each a copy. We did 144 calls for service, 42 of which were in Gaines. Reason for this is we work off of automatic aid with Lockport, and we also have mutual aid throughout the parish to help others as they do us. This is a very strong working relationship with our neighbors. The reason it's probably down from last year we ran 205 calls, is probably because of COVID. Not as many cars on the road, not as many people doing as many things. But anyway, we had responded to 50 fires, 55 crashes, 39 medicals. 2 of the most significant ones that I want to report about, we had a triple residential fire on Highland Drive. This came out last November. These were burning pretty good by the time we got there. It was a real pain, and I want to thank Lockport and Raceland and all the rest of the volunteers that came out and helped us for that call. Another one was a medical where a stroke patient, she pretty much recovered 100% because of our responders applying O2 to her. She survived. Training. 2020's COVID did have impact on us as well, but we still managed to get some training done. We did some on Zoom online. We're striving for a mini school that ended up being canceled. We still got some people certified by EMRs, and our membership still managed to get some new certifications that the department never had before. So we were still active, just not as much as where I'd like. So 2021, I want to ramp it up. The following year, 2022, is going to be the year that we get graded for PIL. They've also allowed more online Zoom training from LSU. That's actually happening in about half hour. One class is actually going to start. My people are there and ready for it, as well as we spreading the word around. Hopefully, we'll find some funding for our EMR program to do another initial EMR program like we did a couple years ago. But one thing that has happened is firefighters that train together, work together. And this is happening throughout the area. It's actually bleeding over to other parishes and other areas. So I'm kind of proud of that. Station 2020, we installed a standby generator that was donated. It actually came online the week before the storm, and it incurred some damage. So we got to repair that. 2021, we need to finish up a radio tower behind the station that was donated as well, but we're going to get it up and get that going as well. As far as needs, the last page of this document I gave you was actually a proposal that was done up to actually change the water line out to Gaines. Started working on this almost 2 years ago with Reggie. Now it's Joe, and we're trying to get some funding through the state and try and move this forward. It's going to cost us about $2.5 million to run a 10-inch water main to Gaines. So what this does, Gaines has a unique situation. The fire hydrants do not put out enough water for us to sustain an attack. We have to actually put down large diameter hose and go get that water from ponds, ditches, even the parish's drainage canals. To my knowledge, we're the only ones in the state that do it this way. To do that, I got to carry 3,500 feet of 5-inch hose, and I got to have an extra pumper to be able to pump all of this stuff around. So with the, hopefully we find this funding, and we'll be able to eliminate all of those assets and eliminate our liability. So we can bring all that down, our costs down. Questions?
Very good, thank you, Chief. Anybody got any inquiries? Mr. Grofit, you got the floor.
I just wanted to know on the status of that water line, if you got any timing on the completion date or when it might even get started. It's still, I know it's all in the works.
We got to find that funding first. Archie's been working on it as well. So it's been in the process. We had a backup with obviously what happened with Reggie. But it's been a known thing, and we've been trying to push forward.
Thank you.
So that there's no timeline.
Thank you, Mr. Grofit. Mr. Grew.
Yeah, I was, Spence, thanks for coming, but, you know, I hadn't been around that long, but it seems like Groundhog's Day. I mean, you mentioned that before about when you've been up here. How much is the funding? I mean, you said you were working on it with Archie and as well as Mr. Bagala in the past. So do you feel confident that you kind of seeing light at the end of the tunnel, or you feel like you
No, actually.
beating your head up against the wall?
This has been a known problem for better than 30 years.
Okay.
But it's one of those that's been itching for me to get it done and try and start pushing for it. We had discussions with the water district back in the early 90s. We were on a 30-year plan. That 30 years is almost up, but with everything else that's going on, the water district won't be able to do it by themselves. The cost is going through the roof. I've also been talking with Wayne, you know, trying to figure out what we can do. I've been providing him data on hydrant flows, trying to figure out what's really the problem, because, I mean, we're right there by the water plant. We shouldn't be having issues. My thoughts is that the water line is an 8-inch main. They did build a piece up into Latour, but it's still an 8-inch main coming into, a 6-inch main coming into Gaines that was put down in the 1950s. And if you put a steel pipe and water that long, she's going to calcify on the inside, and she's going to start reducing. So the length, the size, I'm just not going to get enough water. And every time I flow a hydrant, residents do get pissed.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Grew. Mr. Grofit.
Yeah, my understanding, the plan is to get a grant from the state, and you're trying to get that in the state, through the state, in the pipeline to get the water here. And that's
We're trying to
what we're
work
working
through
on
the
right
state
now.
to try and get some funding, yes.
Correct. Okay, thank you. And you've been in contact with State Representative Ogeron, and prior
Yes.
to that, Bagala.
Yes.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Grabber. There being no further, thank you, Chief, we appreciate that. Item E, engineers and architect reports. Do we have any engineers, architects willing to come up and give a report tonight? This is Sandy. Just remember to state your name and address for the record, Miss Sandy.
Sandy Guidry with Angela Piciola, 13379 Highway 3235, La Rose. We've got two projects, Industrial Park Road Flood Wall, Phase 3. We had submitted plans and specs, and we had to change some right-of-ways, so we were working on some revised plans and should have that to administration next week. And then once we get those approved, we can move forward. And then West 107th Street, we are working on the final plans and specs for this one. That's it. Any questions?
Sandy, do you know how much money is left in the industrial flow wall project, roughly?
Yeah, 800. Yeah, 20-something, something like that.
Since that's drug on for so many years, I don't know if we had 10 years or something, is there any risk of losing that funding, or that's money in the bank?
No, I know you guys have worked on, we've gotten it extended,
Okay,
so we know our deadline, and we shouldn't have any issues with that.
thank you, Sandy. Anyone have any questions? Thank you so much for the report.
Thank you.
Any other engineers, architects? Last call, all right. Move to item F, public wishing to address the council, public hearings, agenda items, et cetera. Ms. Carleen? No one, okay. All right, item G, public hearing and ordinances for ratification. I entertain a motion to open public hearing. So moved by Ms. Chesson, second by Mr. Grabber. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion passes, 9 yeas, 0 nays. Item 5, ordinance amending ordinance number 1123, reducing the speed limit from 15 miles per hour to 10 miles per hour on West 81st Street, Galliano, Louisiana, Ward 10, District 9, Parish of Lefous, State of Louisiana, providing for the placement of speed limit, speed check by radar, and watch for children signs, and providing penalties for the violations thereof. Moved by Councilman Lorraine. Can I get a second? Second by Councilman Grow. Would anyone from the public like to comment on ordinance item number 5? One time, 2 times, last call for public. Anyone from the council wants to discuss this item? There being none, we'll move it to a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion passes, 9 yeas and 0 nays. Item 6, ordinance submitting a proposed amendment to Lafourche Parish Home Rule Charter for the Parish of Lefous, State of Louisiana, to remove Article 4, Civil Service Department from the Lafourche Parish Home Rule Charter and enacting certain other provisions in connections therewith. Moved by Councilman Jones. Can I get a second? Second by Mr. Adams. On this item, I will just remind everyone, on page 38 of the Home Rule Charter, for this to pass, it is going to require 2/3 majority, which will be 6 voting members. With that said, would anyone from the public like to comment on ordinance number 6?
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Ron Sapier, if you'd... Okay.
You also defer, all right?
Mr. Dan Sullivan, if you'd approach the podium, Mr. Sullivan, state your name and address for the record, and please remember you have 3 minutes.
My name is Dan Sullivan. I'm Executive Vice President of the Louisiana Civil Service League in New Orleans. My address is 810 Union Street, Suite 305 in New Orleans. I'm here tonight because I have somewhat of an vested interest in this. In 1996, I was called by, first of all, let me tell you what the Louisiana Civil Service League is. Louisiana Civil Service League is a statewide nonprofit educational organization founded in 1940 by Charles Dunbar and wrote the original civil service law for Louisiana. Since that time, we've established roughly 21 civil service systems in Louisiana, and Lafourche being one of those. There's one in Thibodaux also, which is separate. But in 1996, I was called by then Parish President Aaron Caluette to come here and talk to him and some others about establishing a personnel or civil service system for the parish. We discussed several items that could be done. An ordinance could have been passed. An ordinance that really isn't worth the paper it's written on because it can be voted out at the next meeting or can be voted out by a new administration or new council. The other thing that can be done and can still be done today is Article 10, Section 14 of the state constitution, which allows 5% of the registered voters in Lafourche to have a petition drive, come up with 5% of the registered voters and force an election for civil service, which is outlined specifically in Article 10 of the Constitution, or to put it in the Home Rule Charter. And the beauty of that is and we met many, many times over really a year and a half to establish what people wanted in this system. There was a Home Rule Charter Commission that was put together, and I remember Joe Fertitta was on it, I believe. I can't remember whether Judge Lanier was on that one. He certainly was on the next one. And we met for roughly 20 months, I guess, and went over these. We had many meetings where the parish council used to meet. I believe it was in Raceland. And I found my way there many times, and it was enjoyable working with the people. In February of 1998, the voters voted to put this into place and to put it into the charter. We had the first board meeting at that time. In 2005, when Walter Lanier was the chairman of the Charter Commission, they rehashed this entire idea again, met for a long period of time, and decided that what was in the charter should remain in the charter. I believe there were no changes, if any, that were very insignificant. What is civil service and why is it here? Civil service for Lafourche Parish is, you can kind of look upon it as an employment agency. If people want a job, they go to civil service, they apply for a job that has been advertised, and a register is put together. If the parish president wants to fill a job in parish government, he tells the civil service department, I need a list of applicants. They send him the applicants, and he chooses who he thinks would be the one that he would like to choose for the job. It provides a mechanism basically to recruit and send names for these vacancies. And when a promotion occurs, hopefully the most qualified people would be submitted to the appointing authority.
Okay, Mr. Wendell relinquishes 3 more minutes. You can continue, sir.
Okay, thank you. But anyway, it does a number of things, and it provides a mechanism to remove an employee if he doesn't act. If a civil service employee violates the rules, and this is one thing I want to show you. These have been updated as of October 1st. This is the manual, the civil service manual for Lafourche Parish that has been devised over the last 23 years, and it's updated continually when they have meetings and so forth, and it's the public hearings that they've done that. But anyway, there are presently 212 employees, I think, or roughly that, in Lafourche Parish that are covered under this system. This system is looked over by a civil service board that is chosen in a non-political manner. I believe 3 of those people are here tonight. These individuals are covered under the same political activities protection that the employees are, and there's a reason for that. Civil service employees are covered under this protection where they don't have to be forced to work in political campaigns to keep someone in power, to work on campaigns of whoever it might be, whether it's a national, state, or local party. And that's the protection that they get and can continue in their jobs from administration to administration because they are career public employees for the parish. This board is telling me, as Sheila Boudreaux, who's done an excellent job, that they plan in the next year to look at this in depth and make some changes in it with public input, which they have the right to do. That's the beauty of this system, is that they can change these rules at any time in the future that they want to, where that there's need be for this. That's the idea of having the rulemaking authority. This really needs to remain in the charter. If you don't let it remain in the charter, you'd go back to a spoil system, which means that people would be hired and fired at will. It means that they could be working political campaigns, be forced to work in political campaigns. And that's something from the past. That should not happen today in our community, in our state at all. So I think that what you have here is a good system. I think that it can be improved upon in the next year if need be. And I want to apologize to the parish president. I did send out an email to all the employees early on, and he sent me back on a thing and asked me why I did it, because we don't do business that way in Lafourche. But as I say, I had to do it because I felt the employees needed to know that their protection was being taken away from them. So anyway, I urge you to keep what you have, and the Civil Service League is always there to help in any way we can to make sure that this system works well. I think you've got a good board, and you certainly have a good director and an assistant director, and I'll be glad to answer any questions that you might have.
You don't have any questions? Mr. Jones?
Yes. The problem is not with the civil service, the way it's set up. It's the way the decision's being made.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure that there's some bad decisions made frequently.
Right.
Yeah, right, it can be, sure.
The first question I'd like to ask you, who gave you the parish employee's email? All that's supposed to be confidential. How was that released to you?
I think the personnel director, civil service director answered Mr. Chesson. They were given to me by the civil service department when I asked for them, requested them.
And that's mainly what a lot of civil service employees are really just satisfied with right now, confidentiality.
Yes, sir.
Confidentiality.
These were all parish emails.
Yeah.
They were not home emails.
But you had to do a public information request, right?
I did.
But you didn't do it.
Well, that's fine, Mr. Jones.
Okay.
And I called you twice and asked for you to return my call to discuss this with you, and I did not get a call back.
The problem I got with this, we got 308 employees with the parish that's not unclassified employees that's not on civil service.
Those are federal.
We got 212 on civil service.
Correct.
This unclassified policy and procedure manager for your parish, it costs the taxpayer zero. The civil service manager is costing the taxpayers approximately $300,000 a year now. That's a big difference than 1998 when it was supposed to be $40,000 the most, and you were there and I was there.
Why was it costing that much? Why is it costing that much money?
Because it's not a constant decision. You know, I'll give you one. Okay? Now, I'm going to give you that since you asked. An employee pay cut, her pay was cut, given less duties. Instead, she was given more duties to do. And then after, the administration took her salary out of the budget. I got to ask, where were you?
I don't have anything to do with
You
that,
know.
Mr. Jones.
And where were the board? All right? I found another employee on medical leave. Did everything he was supposed to do.
Did he appeal it? Did he appeal the decision of the board?
He appealed, he lost.
Okay, but the courts?
He lost.
He took it to the courts and the courts upheld the commission?
He had to wait until they had another opening to reapply for another job. But he did everything he was supposed to do.
I can't answer. I don't know the specifics,
Again.
Mr. Jones.
Again, where were the board and you? The pumpers' pay was cut. Said they were making too much money. The only excuse. Again, where were you and the board?
Well, I have nothing to do with it, Mr.
You should be
Jones.
protecting
I have
civil
nothing to
service
do with
employees.
running the local system.
That's the problem I got. Every employee, I'll reinstate that, not every employee. Ours was cut from 40 to 35. Now, except a few pet peeves, was able to keep their 40 hours and plus give raises. I gotta ask, they were turned down at the front door. I gotta ask you, where were you in the board? Employees were doing the right thing in the past administration, falsified paperwork, went to civil service, but they had no protection.
What protection? They can always appeal to the board, and if the board rules not in their
They gotta
favor,
get past
that's
the
where you
first
go to
step.
the court, Mr. Jones.
They
It's all
gotta
in
get past the front step.
I beg your pardon?
They gotta get past the front step.
They can certainly appeal any thing that has been done to them, whether it be a grievance or a termination or whatever. That's in the system, that's in the rule, that's in these rules that I'm giving you right here, sir.
It's in the rules. But they never got past the front step.
Well, I don't understand what you mean.
Now,
past
they
the
never
front
got
step.
past the front door to apply for appeal. And that's what I'm getting from the employees.
Okay.
Okay?
I can't.
It's costing the taxpayer $300,000 a year. And they need some update. Now, I might not get the votes to do this, but I can guarantee everyone up here probably gonna agree that the manual needs to be updated.
Well, it can be upgraded at any meeting of the commission, in other words, the board. That's the beauty of this, is that they can, if you contact the board, you tell them what you think would be a good rule or change in a rule, they have a public hearing and they vote on it. It can be, this manual, anything in this manual, not in the charter, but anything in this manual can be changed at any time. This is the total rulemaking authority of that board. And they decide everything except, they obviously can't give pay, only the council can give pay, but they come up with a pay plan to the board, or excuse me, to the council to be paid. and anything in this manual can be changed, and I would suggest that if you have a problem with it, that you talk to the board or send a letter to the board and let them know what your grievances are with that.
Well, in that manual,
Yes, sir.
who approved and disapproved that manual?
The Civil Service Board,
Okay.
right?
Now, would they include anything that the employees want, since they're getting the committee together?
I would hope
and putting
so.
a lot of stuff in?
I would hope so, yeah. I mean, it's for their benefit, and the taxpayers are really the employers of these employees, not the council, not the parish president. But these people work for the taxpayers of the parish.
Exactly.
And I think that if just think there needs to be maybe a better communication with the council and the Civil Service Board if there are problems. I can't answer specifics, Mr. Jones. You say, where was I? I helped set this system up at the request of the parish president, and we monitor it, but I have nothing to do with the day-to-day runnings of this. It's strictly your Civil Service Board.
Yeah, last time I seen you was 1998. But right now, today, we got 61,000 voters in this parish. In 1996, we had what? About 30,000?
Right.
That's a big difference. So,
Twice as much.
And that's my concern. I wanted to get this out to the public. The public know about it now, and
Well, I would hope that this will open the line of communication between you and the board. I mean, I think listen, changes are always, listen, with every civil service system, there are changes made periodically. I just got a copy of this the other day, and I printed it out. It said revised October 1st, 2020. So obviously there were changes made 3 months ago. So I don't know what they specifically were, but, when changes are made, the manual is updated. So I think, you certainly could talk to them about what changes you want to have made.
definitely, and the administration now, I think they had a meeting on yesterday, getting a committee together. 30, 40 people was on the committee? About 15. Well, because it's not up here, I'm not up here for me, I'm up here for these employees.
Sure.
And the employees feel dissatisfied, I would like to see it corrected.
I agree with you 100%. And of the 212 employees, I think many of them that can give their input into changing this manual, I think it's a good idea, if it's within the parameters of what's in the Home Rule Charter. Absolutely.
All right.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions?
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Mr. Grove?
Just more of a comment, and, thank both of y'all for the comment. But Jones, I think it's unfair to just say the employees are dissatisfied. I mean, you can't answer for every employee with that. I'm sure there's some, look, I served on the Civil Service Board for the city of Thibodaux. There's a lot of good things that happened. There's a lot of things that I didn't agree with, that I lost a vote for civil service against my members. I voted a different way. Things are argued in court every day. Attorneys argue both sides. I appreciate administration. In December 10th, they sent an email out to addressing employees. Archie was like, look, I want to clear some things up. And I thought it was a great email, but I also thought that it was evidence that with a jab that was thrown, that there was an issue with a vote. You win some, you lose some. And there's that goes for administration, employees. There's a way to appeal. There's a way to take it to courts. But I just don't think it's fair when we put money in the budget to study this. We did a charter in the last administration. We did a charter review committee. Each person could put somebody up from their district or not to serve in that committee. I just think it's unfair 26 days into the new year that we're just going to put up a vote to remove the Civil Service Department. These things, as you said, it's introduced, it's out there now. There's other ways to get things out there than to put up a vote to remove it. I think, depending on when we get on a ballot, people need to learn about it. People need to debate it and understand, because one person can get in and put a bunch of money up to go either way, and a lot of times the public isn't informed. So I commend you for bringing it up, but 26 days into the year to vote against it, and I just don't feel that we can make a paintbrush stroke, broad stroke that says everybody's upset with it. The person who lost an appeal is upset every time they walk out, and the person who wins an appeal is very excited every time they walk out. It happens every meeting.
And Mr.
Thank you,
Chairman,
Mr. Grove. Mr. Jones?
and I want to clear something up. I didn't say every employee, but there was more than one employee. So I used the plural form, employees. Okay. So I didn't speak for everybody that worked for civil service, because you had a lot that disagree with civil service. And I had a lot of calls. And I guess you did. And probably you had one to support. I had one to not to support. So when I said employees, that's what I meant.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Mr. Adams?
Yeah, I just have a comment. I got no questions. I just want to say I'm glad Mr. Jones brought this to light because I didn't really know about it. But after looking at it, it needs to be fixed. I'm not for destroying it. I'm for fixing it. I'll give him a year, then after that, I'm coming.
Thank you, Mr. Adams. Anyone else have anything for the current speaker, so we can move to the next speaker? Mr. Grove?
I was just say, to agree with T-Boo, it needs to be discussed, just like everything. I mean, it's a working document. It's not etched in stone. And if something was started in 1996 or developed 23 years ago, it needs to be studied. You don't just kick it out without Plan B. I want to be able to talk to people and say, listen, you, just like Par, Louisiana, a lot of people call me, and I'm sure they call y'all every time there's an election, what I got to do on these 8 things. What you need to do is read Par, Louisiana. It gives you both sides. You can play the devil's advocate, you can look at it both ways. I got nothing to tell them what Plan B is. And I'm an employee in civil service. I'm like, am I going to lose my job? Am I not? I'm aging up, or, Now, look, there's people that are protected that are not good, but we're a long ways away from look to your left, look to your right. Some of y'all ain't going to be here anymore, which happened before. Did these civil service employees understand? We're light years away from what happened 5 years ago. But these people are good people, and they got to be nervous about losing their job. What's Plan B? Don't vote to remove it without showing me what the other side of the coin is. That's my only argument.
Thank you, Mr. Grove. Mr. Jones?
I agree. Right now in place, there's a committee. So, and it met yesterday. So we got time to clear this up. And I hope in consideration that they would take some of the employees' decisions, whatever they're gonna make. Because I'd like to see the employees more involved in this than anything.
I agree with
But they're the one working in the field. They the one the backbone of the parish. They the one take care of the drainage. They the one do the sandbagging when the storm, the hurricane. So for them to be left out in the cold, I don't want to see that. So if I'm willing to pull back my motion, if Mr. T-Boo would pull your second.
Can we finish letting everybody speak, and then we can get to that point? I'm good with that, Mr. Jones. We'll do that, but I'd like to let everybody, because this is all we need to absorb and hear as we go back to the Civil Service Board. I think we would all agree. So if you don't mind, let's let whoever else may want to speak on this. Thank you very much. We appreciate your time.
Thank you very much.
Please do, because it needs to be debated.
Yeah.
Civil Service Board members and director, do y'all have a spokesperson that's going to speak? State your name and address, sir. Please remember you have 3 minutes.
Good afternoon, Council. My name is Robert Cavell. I am the Vice Chairman for the Civil Service Board, 402 West 4th Street, Thibodaux, Louisiana. And I'll let my fellow council members introduce themselves, board members introduce themselves to the council real quick, if you'll allow me to.
Thank you.
Janelle Bourgeois. I live in Raceland, and I am the LSU representative.
Marcel Lovelace. I live in Rienzi, in Thibodaux, and I'm the chairman.
Sheila Boudreau, Civil Service Director, 402 West 5th Street, Thibodaux.
And we do have one more member of the board who's not present this evening, Mr. Walker Jones. He does send his regrets of not being able to attend tonight. He was receiving his second doses of the COVID vaccine. First and foremost, as the representative for this board, we would strongly urge that you vote down this proposed ordinance. Just sitting in the audience here tonight, I've heard a lot of different discussion and the debate going on that is quite concerning. Contrary to some rumors that have been going out there, we are a 5-member board that is all volunteers. We are all members of the community that are trying to serve Lafourche Parish and its employees to the best of our abilities. We do not get paid, contrary to what some people have said, but we are here actively trying to serve the purpose and the functions and the duties of the Civil Service Board. I think if you ask any of the board members, none of us are currently happy with the current state of the manual. In fact, when the new administration had taken over, that was one of the first things was the director, Sheila Boudreau, had met with the president and stated, hey, the bylaws for the civil service has not been updated on a system-wide basis. Yes, there have been updates in October most recently, and even in our last meeting. You know, it's done in a piecemeal fashion, but yes, the entire manual needs to be looked at again and has a total, revamp. No one on the board is refuting that statement. And we have been trying to update it. We're a board of 5 volunteers, We need more resources sometimes to help update that manual, and we do thank the board and the administration for putting some funds in next year's budget to start and looking for that manual. We do resolve on cases that come before the board. We cannot hear cases sua sponte, meaning we can't hear cases that just, transactions that we see out in the community or out in the...
Mr. Adams relinquished 3 more minutes. You can continue, Mr. Cavell.
We can only hear appeals that are brought before us. Now, every appeal that has been brought before us, I can say since I've joined in July of 2019, since my appointment, we have listened to all of the facts, we have reviewed it on a case-by-case basis, and we have looked to the manual and to the rules that have, been written down, and that is what we go off of, and that's how we base our decisions. Each and every time, we take into account each, the facts of the case. A lot of the times, the board's decisions are unanimous. And, I would encourage the council members to go back and review a lot of the decisions of the board, because I'm sure you could kind of see that it's pretty consistent throughout the different administrations that have come and gone. With that, I will leave some time for any questions that the board may have and some further discussions. But once again, I would urge that y'all vote down this ordinance.
Does anyone have any comments for Mr. Cavell? Mr. Adams?
When's the next meeting?
The next meeting is February 17th.
Damn, I'm not gonna be here.
Oh, and
When's the next one after that?
What's that?
When's the next, March what?
March 17th.
Okay.
Very good, Mr. Adams. Anyone else have anything for Mr. Cavell? No, thank you. We appreciate that.
Mr. Sapie, do you still want to speak, or state your name and address for the record? Please remember you have 3 minutes.
Ron Sapie, 110 Bourgeois Street, Rayson, Louisiana, 70394. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the council, President Chesson. I think, Mr. Groh, you stated that the biggest problem we have here tonight. It's all about the manual. It's not about just gutting a piece of the home rule charter. That solves no problem whatsoever. We need to look at reform. This is one of my bullet points I wrote. And that's exactly what you said. I mean, to just get rid of the Civil Service Board, I think is really absolutely crazy. I mean, it protects people's jobs. According to the debate tonight, we see there are 212 employees on civil service and 308 are not, which I kind of find those numbers a little hard to believe. And finally, emails, Mr. Jones, you can find that on the parish's website. Any questions, comments?
Anyone else has any comments for Ron? Mr. Grove?
Something may know, out of the parishes in the state, how many, and I know I'm more interested in just parishes, how many civil service, it may be a question for you, how many civil service departments do they have?
I'll yield to him to let him answer that question.
Yeah. It's out of 64, it's not.
I would have to think about it. Around here, you have St. John, St. Charles, Lafourche, of course, you have Plaquemine Parish, you have St. Bernard, you have Orleans.
Would you say it's 50% or more? Or less?
Well, there's not, in other words, a lot of them aren't large enough to really have a civil service.
Sure.
I mean, you have 60,000 people, there's some parishes that don't even have probably 10.
Yeah.
But.
Yeah, 10 or 11, yeah, I didn't think it was that many,
You didn't mention Jefferson.
That's just in this area.
Jefferson
You've got,
Okay, hold on, everyone. Let him speak.
Okay.
see, in
It's less
addition,
than 50% for sure,
Yeah,
probably more like
you
25.
have, in some places you have, as you do in Lefous, you have Thibodeau has a system and Lafourche has a system. Alexandria has a system, Rapides Parish has a system. So some are just under the parish, some are under city, some are not. Orleans Parish, of course, is Orleans Parish. Jefferson Parish has one that has been in existence since the 50s. Most of these systems that I mentioned to you were started back in the 80s and 90s. The system I was talking to you about that's under the Constitution, there's two of those in the state. One is Opelousas, the city of Opelousas, and the other one is Plaquemine Parish. Plaquemine Parish had some real bad abuses, and there was a petition drive done where 5% of the registered voters were put together, and it was voted overwhelmingly to set up a civil service system. And they ended up going from about 600 and some odd jobs to about 400 and some odd jobs once they established civil service. I mean, there were just people that were in positions that weren't doing their jobs, obviously. And that's what happens when you have really no form of personnel civil service system. It leads to abuses. And I truly believe that what you have is a good system, and the framework is there, and I think it's a wonderful idea to get somebody professional to come in and work with them on that manual, and I think you'd be very happy with what they come up with. Because a lot of parishes and cities have done, I know Rapides Parish did this a few years back. They hired a consultant to come in, I don't remember who it was, hired a consultant to come in and help them revamp their manual. So I would suggest that you do that, but there again, I'm here to help if I can.
Jim, do you have a question for the Civil Service League or Ron?
Just a general statement.
Okay, so thank you very much. Ron, no one else has anything? Appreciate your time.
I'll close with one thing. Without civil service, you don't know who the next person in that chair and the parish president is going to be. This parish can become a complete dictatorship. That's the scary thing, and that's the real problem, and why I've opposed this and came up here and speak tonight, because you were just pulling civil service out. It wasn't solving a problem. Thank you, members.
Thank you, Ron. You have anyone else?
Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I just want to
go ahead, Joe.
clear up something. Ron, would we have this discussion if that ordinance wouldn't have been on this table? No. They've been trying to do a meeting for time.
You asked me a question.
Now,
Let me
we're
respond.
doing it. All right.
Go ahead, Ron.
If it wasn't on the agenda, you mean?
Would it have been, would you be up there discussing or try to get it together if I wouldn't have had to put something on the agenda?
Well, you could have put something about amending the policy manual, like a resolution requesting the Civil Service Board to amend the policy manual in some certain way. I mean, you didn't have to go about it by putting this Home Rule Charter amendment to just erase the Civil Service Board.
Yeah, I guess you heard him say they've been trying to redo the manual for quite some time now. It didn't happen.
Like Mr. Adams says, he says it'll give you 1 year.
Yeah, I think Mr. Jones is making a statement that he's brought this to light and is really pushing it forward.
I think it does need reform. I'll admit that, Mr. Jones. I completely agree, but I just think what you did by putting a Home Rule Charter amendment was a little drastic, scary, and maybe not the right way to go about it. All due respect.
Okay, thank you, Ron.
Thank you.
Would anyone else from the public like to?
Just drop this out.
Oh, okay.
Ms. Shane Hill, you'd approach the podium. Ms. Hill, state your name and address for the record. Please remember you have 3 minutes.
I'm gonna get you again,
Shaney Hill, 4876 Highway 1 Matthews. I'm here just to give y'all a little background on civil service. I'm sure most of you have been doing a lot of research. But when civil service systems were started, it was in the late 1800s. And they were started as a movement to drastically improve local government operations, protect people from politics. We are not in the 1800s anymore. We are given choices in career paths now in school where we can take a college track or we can take a vocational track, trade schools. So here are a few additional reasons that I think something needs to be done. Either we need to reform some things or come up with a new system totally. Safeguards designed to prevent political abuse of employees can result in severe constraints on the ability to correct situations where employees are not sufficiently productive or effective in their current positions. Existing systems serve as a disincentive rather than an incentive for performance improvement. The system may involve a rigid or cumbersome set of procedures that cause excessive delays. And I know we had this a lot with appeals and things. The system may not facilitate productivity improvement efforts. And the system may discourage the retention of the highest quality employees by rewarding longevity rather than performance. So there are some pluses and there are some minuses. And I mean, most of y'all know me. And I mean, last year, if anybody needed, the last 4 years, if anybody needed civil service protection, it was me. And y'all can laugh, y'all know that. But one thing civil service was also, one thing that was also a process of civil service was it gave a person a reason to perform and to want to do better. Because you had step systems. You might have started as a equipment operator 1. You knew what the duties were of an equipment operator 2, so you could progress in your job. Well, of course, last year, they stripped all of those out of my position. I was the first one in the reconstruction of civil service. So they stripped all the compliance officer 1, 2, and 3 positions. I'm just a compliance officer. So why, where do I go now? Where do I go next? So I think a lot of things need to be looked at in the current system that we have. And I'm hoping that y'all take that into consideration. And I was part of the meeting yesterday to reconstruct something, anything. And a lot of us are here and we want to help and we want to better the parish. I mean, you get people that get complacent and taxpayers are paying your salary. We want to be here every day. We want to do a good job for this parish. Some of us were born and raised here. So I just kind of wanted to point some of those things out. I don't need any more time. Thank you.
Thank you, Shaney. We appreciate that very much. Would anyone else from the public like to comment on this ordinance? 1 time,
I have a question.
2 times, 3 times? No, last call for anyone from the, okay, so now we'll bring it to the council. Mr. Grabbear.
I have a question for Ms. Hill. Did you volunteer to be on the reform board?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you, Shaney. Appreciate that, Mr. Grabbear. Mr. Jim.
I think we've had some good discussion around this. Before this item was put on the agenda, I knew problems existed, or I don't want to say I knew problems existed. There were some discussions about it. I've talked to some folks in administration. I've talked to some folks in the field, but it wasn't until this hit a document where there'd be action that the feedback has become overwhelming. I think in the last 2 weeks since it was advertised, I've probably had 35 conversations with actual parish employees about this. Some of them say, yeah, the system's broken, it needs to be fixed. Some of them say, do away with the system. Some of them say, what's going to happen to me? What's going to happen to us? What do we have forward, to look forward to as far as employment's concerned? Can the next parish president come in, wipe the slate clean? So I understand both sides of the coin. I want to thank Mr. Jones for shaking the cage enough to bring this to light, because it seems like there are a lot of different groups coming from different areas. The board members that showed up, thank you guys for what you were doing, but it looks like the board's in line with it. I talked to Ms. Boudreau, the director. She has some great ideas about some changes from the people who I've talked offline with in administration. They have the need and the desire to get some things changed, to get some things streamlined. So it seems like we have 4 or 5 different groups that are after the same function. And as Mr. Adams said, I mean, the consensus was that it would be pulled and we wouldn't take action on this. But I think action needs to be taken, not this particular item, but action with the system needs to be taken. And I think if in the very near future, if these 4 or 5 groups, can get together and adopt something or do whatever, or as Mr. Gross said, at least have a plan B. It's hard to do something and vote on something without knowing, well, what are we going to do in the meantime until something's done? But I think this stirred up enough conversation that we've identified who wants to be part of the change and that change is going on. There's an old cartoon where somebody stands in front of a group and says, "Who wants change?" And everybody raises their hand, and then they say, "Well, who wants to change?" And there's not a hand that's raised. So the people who stood up and who are doing the right thing and are volunteering for the things, throughout the conversations that I have, most people seem to want to do the right thing, but I can see where some of the policies in place do protect the bad eggs. So I understand the frustration from administration side. I also understand it from the employee side of, we can't get anywhere, we don't know what to do, we don't have a next step anymore. So hopefully we can come together as a collective group and solve those issues. But I think this is definitely going to head in the right direction. So, thank you.
Yes, and I think most of us have had the same discussions on what Jim just referenced in terms of talking to both civil service employees, administration, as well as amongst ourselves. So a lot of things are moving along. Archie, you have something?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I want to echo something, Jim. I mean, it's been a whirlwind of a couple of weeks since this came up, right? And I know it's been for you guys, it's been for us with concerns from the employees trying to figure out exactly what was going to happen. And as I opened the kind of employee panel meeting yesterday I didn't know what the hell was going to happen tonight, if it was going to make it through here, if it wasn't. My commitment to them was how to work down a parallel path. And a lot of you guys said, what was the plan? The plan was to try to work down a parallel path, right? We were going to rewrite a civil service manual or make a new handbook that if this were to pass in April or May, whatever ballot it would have been on, we came back to work on Monday, we had something that we could govern off of. And I turned around and kind of figured, and I think Rob alluded to it, we put, it was either 10 or 20,000 in the budget, I think, for the manual rewrite. So hopefully, I think we still keep the employee committee together. That was, you know, my intent this whole time was to have them involved in this. It's their kind of document, right? It's, you know, we have to live within it as an administration, but it really does protect them. And as I've said in the email that I sent out in December, I know what it's like to leave that protected world and then have a new administration come in and tell you to pack your office up because you ain't got a job no more. Been there, done that. So we're going to continue to work through it. And I know Rob and Marcel and Ms. Bourgeois here, and I want to take a moment, and Mike alluded to it. I took a pot shot in that email. My emotions got the best of me. So the three of you here, and I'll do it to Mr. Walker when I see him. And I had the opportunity to talk to Glenn before he sent his resignation. I really want to apologize for that. It was not meant to insult anyone's integrity. Just you get wrapped up in the emotions of what happens in these things, and it got the best of me. So I just want to apologize to the three of you who are here publicly for taking that shot in that email. You know, I've talked to Sheila over the last couple of weeks as this has come about. We're going to hopefully, I don't know how we bridge that gap between the money that's in their budget and the employee committee and who we bring in, if it's somebody hopefully locally from Nichols or a consultant that wants to come to work for us for that small amount of money to be able to rewrite a manual. But we'll figure out how to bridge that gap in the coming months.
Thank you very much for those words, Mr. President. Mr. Adams.
Yeah, just I wanted to let you know, like I say, we give them a year, but just keep up that backup plan just in case.
Good. Mr. Wendell.
Just directed at Mr. Chesson. You said you had to live with the document as administration. I just want to let the employees know, before all this started, before 2 weeks ago, before a month ago, you and I had some offline conversations just standing at football games, and as we were both new coming into, well, you on a second go around, but coming into government, just trying to figure stuff out. I think you've always had the best interest of the employee there. So I don't want anybody to pick sides or lose faith that it's a us against them. I've had some conversations with some council people, just recently with employees, but the person that I've talked to the most about it, once again, unofficially, but just, you know, talking, was Mr. Chesson, who has a true desire to work with employees, look out for employees, and make sure that not only the parish's interests are covered, as far as, you know, Ms. Hill said, we're paying a salary, we're under the spotlight, we need employees that are going to do their jobs and do it correctly. He has that obligation, but he also has the obligation to the employees. Walking around buildings, he knows parish employees' names. He knows about their families. When he sees you, it's not, oh, hey, employee 4327. It's, hey, how are you, John? How's Sarah? How's this? But I just wanted to make sure that this dialogue didn't build any walls that we're going to have to break down before we can take a step forward. I think his heart was always in the right place. I just think that we weren't communicating as well as we could, and I think this opened up a lot of eyes. But a lot of the things that I heard from employees, a lot of things that everybody's come up here and said, has come out of his mouth in conversations that we have had. So, thanks for being open and, you know, keeping it a family environment and making it workable.
Mr. Grove?
Yeah, on the committee, and you had mentioned in the letter that you wanted to form, so it's 15 people, and I guess it was all picked by administration?
No. So
Okay.
I probably should have mentioned that. So what Savanya did was she sent an email to basically all of the departments and the field offices. And they picked who, the various field offices
Represent.
picked one person. Because what I didn't want to happen, as Jim kind of alluded to, I didn't want everybody to say, well, Archie picked the 15 people he knew he would go his way, so he would get it, and that's who he put on the committee. So the employees picked themselves. We didn't have any say-so in that.
Are these meetings being recorded?
No.
Can we request that? And the reason I ask, because there's a lot of times, like with the charter committee, when they make a decision, sometimes you want to know what was discussed and the reason behind the decision. Because you could read things, courts argued every day certain ways, you know. So if you can, if a change is proposed, you know exactly the story behind why they recommended that change. You follow what I'm saying? Not to, if anybody ever wanted to go back and look at, hey, why did we come up with this? Because if you meet, like you said, he met 20 times driving down, you know, unless you got something to you know, from 96, you know, if you got these notes or you've got audio of what was discussed, it does help, you know, because I don't think this needs to be solved overnight, you know, and I would hope it comes back towards us to where it can be debated in the public on what changes would be proposed if there is a vote to change it or whatever. So, like I said, not everybody reads PAR, you know.
Hey, Mr.
Thank
Chair,
you.
Just a remark. Yeah, I agree with you, Michael. But the only thing we're requesting from the administration, make up a file recording, because it disappears.
Good point. Mr. Lorraine?
So this is gonna be a committee?
Well, it's an employee committee. It's not,
I just hope it's better than the charter committee that we had, because it never came to fruition.
Yeah. They gave us the recommendations, the council never moved on them. But I just want to make a comment, I think, and just for everyone to know, and I'm not debating, I'm just making a statement, so I won't relinquish the gavel, just a quick statement. I think a lot of frustration from the council side was the constraints put on the new administration, and I really think there needs to be a buffer 6 months prior to the end of a term and probably 6 months into a new term. The frustration on our side was that there was a shuffle of employees in terms of their job titles, in terms of their pay rate, that just got crazy in the last 6 months of a term. And I think that puts constraints on your administration. And that's where the frustration, correct me if I'm wrong, that's the frustration from our end, so that everyone understands that. So there needs to be a buffer zone or something in there. But anyway, with that said, Mr. T. Booty, you remove your second. Yes, sir. Mr. Jones, you pull the motion. The motion disappears. We'll move on to item 7. Ordinance approving the holding of an election in Recreation District Number 1 of the Parish of Lefous, State of Louisiana, on Saturday, April 24, 2021, to authorize the levy of a special tax therein. Mr. Graubear will move on my behalf of the administration. Can I get a second? Second by Mr. Melvin. Would anyone from the public like to comment on ordinance number 7? 1 time, 2 times, 3 times. Anyone from the council? Mr. Chesson.
Mr. Chairman, I just want to point out, and I know Mr. John Champagne and Becky are here from the Rec District, and you and I had a lot of these conversations in an effort not to overtax the people. The chairman, John, and myself worked with Assessor Thibodeau to kind of figure out what their old millage was and what the new millage needed to get, because we all knew new houses were built, assessments went up, so we didn't have to ram a huge millage down the pipe like another district may have done, that they knew exactly what the number was that they needed to go to the ballot with. So I want to thank Councilman Otan and John and the board for working with us on that, so we don't have to overtax the businesses and our residents to try to get something done.
Thank you, Mr. Chesson. That's right. Ms. Becky Toops is the new director. If you just wave your hand, Becky, she's the new director of the community center in Lockport. And John's sitting in the most everybody knows John. John's a board member on the rec district. I can tell you it's a little bit fearful. A little fear in there when Mr. Amin got up here and said he's planning on taking in less in gains than what he took it before, because our millage is actually going to be lower than what it was before. We're supposed to make more, so hopefully they got the numbers right. I did ask for public 3 times, Ms. Carlene? No. No? I didn't finish it? I thought I did. That's when Chesson. Okay. So I asked for 1 time, 2 times, 3 times. Anyone from the council want to discuss this anymore? If not, I'll move it to a vote. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 9 yeas, 0 nays. Item 8, ordinance to install 15 miles per hour speed limit, caution children at play, and speed check by radar signs on West 159th Street from LA 1 to Highway 3235, Galliano, Louisiana, Ward 10, District 9, Parish of Lefous, State of Louisiana, providing for the placement of 15 miles per hour speed limit, caution children at play, and speed check by radar signs, and providing penalties for the violations thereof. Moved by Ms. Lorraine. Can I get a second? Seconded by Ms. Chesson. Would anyone from the public like to comment on item number 8, this ordinance? One time, two times, three times. Anyone from the council? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion passes, 8 yeas, 0 nays. Item number 9 has been pulled by the administration. Item 10, ordinance approving a temporary servitude agreement between several property owners in Lafourche Parish government in the cutoff area and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said agreement and any and all relevant documents. Moved by Ms. Chesson for the administration. Can I get a second? Second by Mr. Grofit. Anyone from the public would like to comment on item 10? This ordinance, one time, two times, three times. Anyone from the council? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion passes, 9 yeas and 0 nays. Item 11, ordinance approving a temporary servitude agreement between James B. Cantrell and Lafourche Parish government in the cutoff area and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said agreement and any and all relevant documents. Moved by Mr. Chesson for the administration. Can I get a second? Second by Mr. Melvin. Would anyone from the public like to comment on item 11? One time, two time, last call for public. Anyone from the council? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion passes, 9 yeas, 0 nays. Item 12, ordinance approving a servitude agreement between Timothy L. Glaze and Cheryl Charpentier Glaze and Lafourche Parish government in Lafourche in the cutoff area and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said agreement and any and all relevant documents. Moved by Ms. Chesson for the administration. Can I get a second? Second by Mr. Grofit. Anyone from the public would like to comment on item 12? One time, two times, three times. Anyone from the council? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion passes with 9 yeas and 0 nays. Item 13, ordinance approving a temporary servitude agreement between Brian Sheremy and Emily David Sheremy and Lafourche Parish government in the cutoff area and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said agreement and any and all relevant documents. Moved by Ms. Chesson for the administration. I got a second by Mr. Lorraine. Let the record reflect Mr. Adams stepped out at 18:12. Anyone from the public? One time? Two times? Three times? Anyone from the council? There being none, we'll move to a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye. Anyone opposed? Motion passes with 8 yeas, 0 nays, and 1 stepped out the room being Mr. Adams. Item 14, ordinance approving a servitude agreement between John J. Danos Jr. and Anna Jane Danos and Lafourche Parish government in the cutoff area and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said agreement and any and all relevant documents. Moved by Ms. Chesson for the administration. Can I get a second? Second by Mr. Groh. Would anyone from the public like to comment on item 14? One time, two times, three times. Anyone from the council? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion passes with 8 yeas, 0 nays, and 1 out of the room currently being Mr. Adams. Item 15, ordinance approving a temporary servitude agreement between Blair Plaisance and Cindy Guidry Plaisance and Lafourche Parish government in the cutoff area and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said agreement and any and all relevant documents. Moved by Ms. Chesson for the administration. Can I get a second? Second by Mr. Lorraine. Let the record reflect Mr. Adams stepped back in chambers at 18:13. Anyone from the public? One time, two times, three times. Anyone from the council? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion passes with 9 yeas and 0 nays. Item 16, ordinance approving a temporary servitude agreement between DFDM LLC and Garrett H. Danos and Lafourche Parish government in the cutoff area and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said agreement and any and all relevant documents. Moved by Ms. Chesson for the administration. Can I get a second? Second by Mr. Lorraine. Would anyone from the public like to comment on item 16? One time, two time, last call for public. Anyone from the council? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion passes with 9 yeas and 0 nays. Item 17, ordinance providing for a 2020 supplemental appropriation 21-002 within the 2021 operations and maintenance budget and capital outlay budget to increase the budget for the Lockport Library Branch entryway modification project 2013 in the amount of $150,000 and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said transactions as provided for by Article 6 of the Lafourche Parish Home Rule Charter. Moved by Mr. Lorraine for the administration. Can I get a second? Seconded by Mr. Melvin. Would anyone from the public like to comment on item 17? One time? Two time? Anyone? Item 17, three times? Council, Mr. Lorraine.
Yeah, I just want to ask, I know the front part of the library is bad where the sidewalk's at, you changing that? And you also, under the building, there were some problems there, that's being fixed too? So you're looking at a total of about $500,000 with this plus? Because I know you were concerned with under the building because that library was built on an old landfill.
Yeah, if you don't mind, just state your name and address for the record so we know who's answering these questions for Mr. Lorraine.
Laura Sanders, 212 Belmead Boulevard, Thibodeau. Mr. Lorraine, it's be about $700,000. We're going to address the sidewalk, which if you've seen it, you know it's not in good shape. The canopy is pulling away from the building. And then we have some plumbing issues that the plumbing underneath is starting to sag. There's some places where I'm not a plumber, so I'm not going to use the correct terminology, where the wires are no longer holding up the plumbing like it's supposed to. So the easiest thing to do is to fix that while we are fixing the foundation in the front. Otherwise, if we went back and, did one and then came back, a year or so later and did another, if it lasts that long, we would just be spending more money. This is the best way to do it, is my understanding.
Yeah, I know it's been going on a long time because I make most of the meetings.
Yes, you do.
And I just want to make sure nothing was left out.
No,
I knew there was a problem under the building that's been going on for over a year.
Yes, sir.
And it all mounted more and more and more. Now you got the front.
Yes, sir.
But to be honest with you, it was built on an old landfill.
Correct.
Hopefully we'll get better results on the second round.
I hope so. And that was before my time, but yes.
No, I understand, but I'm just,
right. That's my
I'm just saying
understanding.
it is what it is.
Right.
That could be that might have been what caused all this problem. So now we're going to fix it.
Right.
And hopefully it don't happen again.
Miss Laura, what's the age of that facility? It's not very old. Is it the newest? Is it the newest facility we have?
They were kind of all built right around the same time, Mr. Otan. That's what I want to say is early 2000s. I wasn't here when it was built, but what we have discovered is that, as Mr. Lorraine said, it was built on an old dump site or something, and so the land keeps settling. So right now, if you went to that building, you could actually, grown person, crawl under the building all the way, because the only thing that is supporting that building are the pilings underneath it. There is no sand. It has completely washed out. So we are having to put sand around the sides periodically to keep creatures out and to keep people out.
So not to blame nothing on nobody, but
No,
do you remember who was the president of the library board at that time?
Yes, I do. Yes, sir, I do.
He's well known.
Yes, sir, I think he is.
Yeah, and that's the only one he built. He took credit for all of them, but that was the only one that was built by that man.
Yes.
We all know. We'll tell you after the meeting.
No, I'll tell you, it was Mr. Cantrell was the president at that time.
Of the library board.
Of the library board.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Mr. Lorraine, and thank you, Ms. Laura, for answering those questions.
Thank you.
Any further discussion by the council? If not, we'll move this to a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion passes with 9 yeas and 0 nays. Item 18, ordinance amending ordinance number 6402 and amending and reenacting Article 26 of Chapter 34 of the Lafourche Parish Code of Ordinances as it pertains to the Industrial Development Board of the Parish of Lafourche Incorporated, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer any and all relevant documents. Moved by Ms. Adams for the administration. Got a second by Mr. Wendell. Would anyone from the public like to comment on item 18? One time, two times, anyone from the public 3 times, anyone from the council? Mr. Lorraine? Yes. Your mic went back off, Mr. Lorraine. I think your mic went back off. There you go.
When this board is going to meet, are we going to be notified to attend those meetings?
Mr. President,
Yeah, we have to, I mean, it's a commission, so we have to follow all the open meetings laws and publicize the agenda and stuff like that.
I just want to make sure.
So then the next meeting, just so you know, the next meeting is scheduled for February 4th at 2:30 here in the council chambers.
Just email us and let us know.
I don't know when the next one is here.
Thank you. Mr. Adams?
No, okay, I was gonna ask the same things, are we gonna be notified, and or we get like the minutes or anything for the meetings, or any kind of updates on what they're working on, because I really would like to know what's going on with it.
Yeah, we can do that. So the only reason we're having to amend this is when we put it together, it was strictly, you had to be a resident of Lafourche Parish. One of the members that we appointed to the board is a local realtor who does a majority of our business here in Lafourche, but actually lives on the other side of the line on Bayou Blue. So we changing the ordinance to where it says a resident or a business owner of Lafourche Parish, so she still qualifies to sit on the board. Or in the future, anybody who has a vested interest but lives, you know, on the other side of Bayou Blue or the other side of the Zalman, something like that.
Thank you, Mr. President. That's it. Any further discussion? There be none, we'll move it to a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes with 9 yeas and 0 nays. Item 19, ordinance providing for a 2021 supplemental appropriation 21-004 within the 2021 operations and maintenance budget and capital outlay budget to construct a new animal shelter and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said transactions as provided for by Article 6 of the Lafourche Parish Home Rule Charter, moved by Mr. Jones to the administration, second by Mr. Adams. Would anyone from the public like to comment on item number 19? One time, 2 times, anyone from the public 3 times, anyone from the council? Mr. Grove.
We're looking at the same site,
Location, Mr. President?
location-wise?
Yeah, so we're, at the next council meeting, you guys are hopefully gonna approve a contract to engage Duplantis Design Group to do the design. Last week, we had an initial scoping meeting with Stephen, and Ashley. It's gonna be on the same site. The intent is to knock down the existing building that's fallen apart, the old wooden one that was built by the trade school years ago. Where exactly this is gonna fit on that site, we haven't quite figured out yet, but it's gonna be in that same location, because we've spent a substantial amount of money putting up some other buildings in a particular area, so to try to move all of that somewhere else is just too much. So we're gonna use that existing footprint.
So we can knock down the building that we just jacked up and did all that stuff?
No, I'm talking about the old, like the animal shelter where the offices and the cats and stuff are now, that old wooden one.
Yeah.
The medical suite that's there, we're talking about maybe moving it to the back side of the lot instead of the front, which is gonna be relatively easy, but we're gonna be on that same site.
Okay.
I know Reggie had worked to try to move it to the central part of the parish, but I guess you don't want to lose current infrastructure. Mr. Lorraine?
Yeah, you know if they're having trouble with cats, I guess some people calling me that they called the animal shelter, but they said they don't have no place to put them.
Anybody knows the answer
Is
to that,
that
Mr.
true?
President?
I mean, I'm just asking.
Yeah, so space, the dogs are a whole lot more adoptable. People tend to adopt more dogs than they do cats, so we run out of room very quickly. If you guys remember, probably 2 or 3 meetings ago, we changed the animal shelter, or the animal trapping laws to where we kind of do a trap, neuter, and release program now. So we're not having to house them all, but yeah, typically, you know, every now and then we'll get to the point where we're at max and we just can't take anymore.
So with fixing this,
It'll
you
give us
should
more
make a
space.
little more room for cats.
That's right. And it'll be a lot more convenient for the animals, and it'll be a lot more convenient for the employees. If you guys have never visited that animal shelter, I mean, Hillary and those girls do a bang-up job there every day in a building that smells like the back end of a porta potty. I mean, the ventilation is horrible. It's a very old facility. So we're trying to make good on the work of Reggie when he was there, and something that the Animal Shelter Advisory Board has asked for a lot of years. And we're in a financial position where we can build a pretty decent-sized facility, so it was worth the effort.
Thank you, Mr. Chesson. Okay, any further discussion? There being none, we'll move that one to a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion passes with 9 yeas and 0 nays. Item 20, ordinance providing for a 2021 supplemental appropriation 21-003 within the 2021 operations and maintenance budget and capital outlay budget to combine grant money from the Local Government Assistance Program, LGAP, to purchase portable pumps in the amount of $73,291.25 and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said transactions as provided for by Article 6 of the Lafourche Parish Home Rule Charter, moved by Mr. Jones for the administration, second by Mr. Adams. Would anyone from the public like to comment on item 20? 1 time, 2 time, 3rd call for public. Anyone from the council wants to discuss this? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion passes with 9 yeas and 0 nays. I'll now entertain a motion to close public hearing. So moved by Mr. Gross, second by Mr. Melvin. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion passes 9 yeas, 0 nays. Item H, proposed ordinances. Mr. Wendell.
Item number 21, proposed ordinance providing for a 2021 supplemental appropriation 21-005 within the 2021 operations and maintenance budget and capital outlay budget to increase the budget for various grants and drainage improvement projects, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said transaction as provided for by Article 6 of the Lafourche Parish Home Rule Charter. Mr. Jones on behalf of administration. Item number 22, proposed ordinance providing for a 2020 supplemental appropriation, number 20-038, within the 2020 operations and maintenance budget to cover the cost of debris removal from Hurricane Zeta and cover costs within communications and the general fund, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said transactions as provided for by Article 6 of the Lafourche Parish Home Rule Charter. Mr. Lorraine on behalf of administration.
Thank you, Mr. Wendell. Item I, resolutions. Number 23, resolution appointing one member on the Library Board of Control. Councilman Grofit administration deferred from the 1/12/21 LPC meeting. Who do you have, Mr. Grove?
Well, first of all, I'd like to thank Miss Judy Bazari for serving all these years, and she retired from her volunteer job just recently. So I'm going to appoint Miss Lauren Bordelon.
Ms. Lauren Boulon. Can I get a second for Ms. Lauren Boulon? So moved by Mr. Grabbear. Any discussion by the council? Mr. Lorraine, press your mic. Press your mic.
6 people that applied for that? Paul Chiquette, which he never applied. Bourgeois never applied, as far as I know. I don't know about Joan Delot, Mary Conrad, Oscar, and Lauren Baudelaire. Tried to get it last time, she didn't get it, but I guess Michael became the liaison.
Very good. So a lot of, I think what he's saying is a lot of people applied. And so with that said, any further discussion?
Yeah, there was
Mr. Grove?
six applicants, and Miss Bordelon has 15 years in public libraries, 2 of them as a director, and that's why I chose her. I don't think if you read her resume, I think it's pretty good. I'm sure you like somebody else's, though.
No, Paul didn't apply. I talked to him. I don't know how his name got on there.
Okay. Oh,
But
you didn't?
which
Okay.
she had 15 years?
15 years, 2 as a
Paul
director.
had about 40 years.
Yeah, 2 of them were in the last 2 years. One of them was in the last 2 years, so I think that's his problem.
Very good. So we have a highly qualified applicant and recommendation. Any further discussion? There be none. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion passes with 8 yeas, 1 nay, that nay being Councilman Lorraine. Item 24, obviously, is pulled. Thank you, Mr. Jones. Item 25, resolution reappointing one member to Lafourche Parish Tourist Commission Board representing the Lefous Chamber of Commerce. Mr. Grove for the administration. Who do you have, Mr. Grove?
Miss Monique Crochet.
Ms. Monique Crochet. Can I get a second? Second by Mr. Melvin. Any discussion on Ms. Crochet? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion passes 9 yeas, 0 nays. Item 26, resolution reappointing one member to the Bayou Blue Fire Protection District of the parishes of Terrebonne and Lafourche Board. Mr. Wendell for the administration. Who do you have, Mr. Wendell?
From the Lafourche side, we had 1 vacancy, 1 reappointment, Mr. Caleb Verdon.
Mr. Verdon, can I get a second for Mr. Verdon? So moved by Mr. Adams. Any discussion? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes with 9 yeas and 0 nays. Item 27, resolution reappointing one member on the Fire Protection District Number 8C Board. Mr. Adams for the administration. Who do you have, Mr. Adams?
Farron Molazon.
Mr. Moulizon, second by Mr. Jones. Any discussion? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion passes with 9 yeas and 0 nays. Item 28, resolution appointing 2 members to the Drainage District Number 1 Board. Ms. Chesson for the administration. Ms. Chesson, who do you have?
We have 2 vacancies, 2 applicants, Errol Sheremy and Ore Savoy Jr.
Mr. Sheremy and Mr. Savoy. Can I get a second? Second by Mr. Grabbear. Any discussion? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes 9 yeas and 0 nays. Item 29, resolution appointing one member to Lafourche Parish Communications District Board. Ms. Chesson for the administration. Who do you have, Ms. Chesson?
We have 1 vacancy, 2 applicants, but I am putting Deborah Gotro in there. She was in there before.
Ms. Godreau has been recommended. Mr. Lorraine has seconded that appointment. Any discussion? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 9 yeas and 0 nays. Item 30, resolution appointing one member on the Central Lafourche Ambulance Service District Board. Mr. Melvin for the administration. Who do you have, Mr. Melvin?
Todd Detillier.
Mr. Detillier, can I get a second? Second by Mr. Grabbear. Any discussion on Mr. Detillier? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion passes with 9 yeas and 0 nays. Item 31, resolution approving change order number 5 from BET Construction Incorporated for the project titled Additions and Renovations to the Lafourche Parish Library, Thibodeau Branch, increasing the contract price by $10,476.03 and adding 21 additional days to the contract time, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said change order and any and all relevant documents. Moved by Mr. Lorraine for the administration. Can I get a second? Second by Mr. Grabber. Any discussion? Mr. Adams.
Yeah, I was just asking, how much longer before you can actually open up the addition? I remember they had an issue a while back with the elevator also, so I'm just asking.
Ms. Laura, if you don't mind, please restate your name and address.
Laura Sanders, 212 Belmead Boulevard, Thibodeau. I don't mind you asking at all, Mr. Adams. So we are, and I do have Stephen Viggory with Duplantis Design. We're in the final stages. The elevator is installed. We are waiting on the guy who fine-tunes it before he can turn it over to us. That's at the end of this week. Mr. Viggory?
We had fire marshal inspection today, so we have a certificate of occupancy, and we're right at the finish line. Our big delay is COVID really put a hurt in on the elevator company, and they couldn't get it fabricated, and then they had difficulties getting it installed. So the elevator is still not complete, but they've agreed to have somebody there while we're installing furniture.
Ms. Laura, either you're going to have to restate that if you could put it, because she can't pick it up unless you sit into the mic.
That's all right.
Just for the minutes.
Stephen Viggory, Duplantis Design Group, 314 East Bayou Road.
Thank you, sir.
We're right at the finish line. We had fire marshal inspection today, and the only outstanding item is the elevator. And we're going to be using the elevator to install the racks and the furniture, but it's not quite finished, so the elevator manufacturer is going to come operate the elevator for us to perform that activity. And then with that, then we'll be done. So with this change order, we're adding 21 days. That gets us to this week. So hopefully by the end of the week, we'll be close to where we need to be.
And I do want to say, if I can have just a minute, the Thibodeau branch is closed right now. It's closed for those renovations. We're doing a complete reinstall of where everything is going. But we're still trying to serve our public as best we can. So we're doing curbside out of our headquarters office. And we have been very busy, including Mr. Melvin, who called and had us get something for him. So even though we don't have the Thibodeau branch open, we are doing our very best to meet the needs of the public, getting the materials to them, having those take-and-make crafts, which have been very popular. They're outside of our headquarters as well. Again, just doing what we can do. I know it's an inconvenience not to have the library open for people, but it's going to be beautiful when it is open. And I would love to be able to take all of you through it and show you our vision. We're very excited about it.
Thank you, Ms. Laura.
Yes, our next board meeting will be there instead of at the Lockport branch like usual, so that the board can see it as well.
Very good. Any further discussion on item 31? There being none, we'll move this one to a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion passes with 9 yeas and 0 nays. Item 32, resolution approving a cooperative endeavor agreement to each participating senior citizen center for the purpose of Lafourche on the Move program, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said agreements and any and all relevant documents. Ms. Chesson will move on behalf of the administration. Can I get a second? Second by Mr. Groh. Any discussion? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Anyone opposed? Motion passes with 9 yeas and 0 nays. Item 33, resolution adopting the Lafourche Parish Emergency Operations Plan and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said plan and any and all relevant documents. Mr. Adams will move on behalf of the administration. I got a second by Mr. Wendell. Anyone would like to discuss this last resolution? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes with 9 yeas and 0 nays. Item J, parish president, department heads, directors, or managers' reports, presentations, and or updates. Number 34, finance representative to present the monthly financial report as required by the state agreed upon procedures for November and December 2020. Got anything, Mr. Chesson?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Jackson is going to do the last quarter report for you guys as we do at the end of every quarter to wrap up the numbers, and then we'll take any questions.
Okay, the finance report that was sent to you last week, I made some revisions simply because we did get our ad valorem taxes in, and so I wanted to reflect those in the new numbers. I will be providing a new copy of this to Ms. Carleen. Okay, for royalty, we did receive all of our royalty in for this year. The fourth quarter of LPG has received $366,215.11, and ending LPG year with a total of $1.4 million, $1,427,962.69. It's a decrease in 2019 number. We have a 30.52% decrease, ending with 2020. Road sales tax. All of the sales tax, the next few slides, are not going to have the fourth quarter simply because sales tax for December is collected in January. We do not get those numbers until February. So I'm going to only report the first 3 quarters for 2020. In the third quarter of 2020, LPG has not received a December sales tax. The school board is still collecting December sales tax. In comparing the first 3 quarters of 2019 and 2020, the collections are increased by $239,819.69, which is a 6.65% of an increase over 2019. Sales tax 2, once again, we did not collect yet for the fourth quarter. In comparing the first 3 quarters of 2019 and 2020, there was a decrease overall of $184,543.96, which is a 9.53 decrease. Solid waste, in comparing the first 3 quarters of 2019 and 2020, our collection was decreased by $72,468.17, which is a 1.38% decrease. Parish transportation, we did receive all of our parish transportation for 2020. In the fourth quarter 2020, LPG has received $150,567.69 and ending the year with $615,381.85. In 2020, the year ends shows a decrease of $81,949.09, which is a 30.52% decrease overall. The general fund. We did receive our ad valorem taxes of the first payment. We should be getting another one that's going to be posted, so these would not be the final numbers for 2020, and we're still getting invoices in as well. As of today, our fund balance in the general fund is $1,650,540.40. In drainage, as of today's date, our fund balance is $581,816.26. For the library, it's $11,279,630.62. Solid waste is in a negative state of $523,992.51. But once again, that's going to change, and also you're going to be seeing a supplement as well to cover the debris. So those numbers, those are not final numbers, but we wanted to report something to you at this meeting. Royalty. Our ending fund balance as of today's date is $2,468,196.84. The next couple slides, it's a 457B correction. It was brought to my attention that in 2012, we had an audit, and what they did, they came in and they told us that we were not reporting our FICA correctly. So we went in and made changes. During that period, we were also moving a cash, which we shouldn't have been moving cash. It was considered a non-cash item. And through this audit, we realized that payroll was holding $1.6 million. This is the breakdown of these funds being returned back to the original fund. So in the general fund, you're going to have $724,181.87. The animal shelter would get $1,098.86. Building and maintenance will be $26,811.28. Roads and bridges, $283,486.98. Drainage would get $192,145.63. Solid waste would be $19,268.29. Board of Health is $34,080.74. Recreation, $5,519.84. Special District is $16,418.66. Planning is $3,268.25. And the library will get $319,190.27, which is a total of $1,625,470.67. So these were employees that were paid out of these funds, and we were moving the money, which were non-cash items, into payroll, and it should not have been made. So this is now us going back and returning these monies back to these, to the funds that paid for these 457 match. Next slide is the parish transportation and royalty. If you look, you see I have split out 2018, 2019, and 2020. For parish transportation, you can tell from the graph, the slide, that the 2019 and parish transportation was slightly higher than 2018 and 20, but they pretty much are consistent. When you look at for royalty, you see there's a hike in 2019, but 2020 is substantially low in comparison to 19. The next slide will show your sales tax comparison for the road sales tax for the road districts. Being that the fourth quarter is not completed, I did the same thing. I compared the first 3 quarters, and you can see in the road sales tax, A is pretty consistent. It's slightly higher in 2020. 2020. But road sales tax 2, again, they're pretty, same. I mean, you don't see a huge difference in it, and as well as solid waste. So when you look at the sales tax, the collection amounts are pretty in line. It's not a huge variation from year to year. This last slide is just showing you the fund balances for the major funds that I covered previously on the other slides. If you have any questions on any of the items that I have presented tonight, you could go ahead and ask your questions.
Anyone have any questions? Doesn't look like it. Thank you very much for that presentation. Okay, you got anything else, Mr. President?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm gonna run down a list, just a few updates for you guys. We're still putting information out there. We did get the presidential declaration for Hurricane Zeta, so anybody who still needs hurricane related relief, whether you were underinsured or non-insured for roofs or anything like that, we do have a bunch of information about how to contact FEMA. Luckily, as she noted, that there's a supplemental next meeting to recoup that 1.5 million for the debris pickup post-storm. With this, the presidential declaration, we should either get a 90, 10, or 100% rebate on all of that. So that money will be coming back to us. A couple of items from the staff meeting this morning on project updates. We are working, waiting on one more quote for the Leeville boat launch, Daniel, to get that wharf fixed. Tommy Boudreaux with Norris and Boudreaux, who's our maintenance contractor, is going to work on the fence itself. But the actual wharf fix was a little bit more than what he could handle. So we're getting our 3 quotes, waiting on one more. We have 2 in hand. Dylan's guys are working really hard on the Lockport floating dock, Mr. Chairman. We were waiting on a box of bolts to come in. They shifted us a box of bolts. So once that gets done, hopefully we can float it out there. And then our welders are gonna have to help us fab an extra piece of gangway to be able to float it out there enough where there's enough water and people can traverse it. So hopefully, next couple of weeks, we'll have that up and running. Councilman Adams, we have the new restroom up and almost running in Bayou Buff. You guys remember we did a little something out the box. We found a company, and I know Terry's in the audience. Terry kind of helped with that in tracking down these folks. It's basically a Connex box, so a shipping container that this company retrofits into restrooms. Relatively cheap, works for exactly what we need out there. The building's in place, power's hooked up, plumbing's hooked up, a new sewer plant was installed. The only other thing we're waiting on is an actual ramp to go up to the building itself. So if it's ADA compliant, but we need to get a ramp up to it. So in the next couple of weeks, we'll have that up and running, and then we can open it up to the public and hopefully get that porta potty taken away that has been there for a lot of years. Councilman Grow had copied where we've been working on the courthouse renovations with the annex. We sent an email to the Bar Association last week, kind of giving them an update. I know you were getting a lot of calls from some local attorneys. It's going to be about a $900,000 project to redo some HVAC, windows, doors. A couple of the judges had some cosmetic stuff in the courtrooms, bigger jury rooms, especially now in a COVID environment that they want it taken care of. So Kevin Grow with Weimergo Flores is the architect on that. We're going to try to meet with him within the next couple of weeks to get an update on where he is and get that project kicked off hopefully this summer. We also met with Skipper Holloway, with Gosselin, Holloway, and Cortez, who's doing the rodeo concession stand for the roping club at the arena in Raceland. They're about halfway through that design, doing some survey work to kind of finish wrapping that up. Hopefully by the summer we'll be out to bid with that new concession stand and restroom facility. And lastly, Dylan and DPW has been working really hard on wrapping up the road priority list. We have the list. Marie finished it. And she just walked out. Marie, I was looking at her in the corner. She wrapped that up, so we sent that out to the two engineers that are going to be helping us out with that to start to put together a project and look at funding. But hopefully by the summertime, we should have a road project in both Road 2 and Road 8 happening to pick up the streets. I know we talked a lot about with you guys during the budget process about your top 5 worst streets. So we kind of consolidated it into a workable list. So you guys will approve the road priority list, hopefully the next meeting. And then the subsequent meeting after that, we'll probably award the 2 engineering contracts and get those projects up and running. With that, I'll take any questions, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'll move into item K, discussion, and they'll be able to ask if they have anything follow-up. Item 35, discussion concerning the recycling bins in the parish. Mr. Lorraine, you have the floor.
Yes, in case most councilmen don't know, Lafourche Parish was the first parish to recycle in the state of Louisiana. And that started way back. I don't exactly remember what year, but it was way back. First parish in the state. But the way I looked at that, elderly people, when you skip their recycle, don't ask them to put it back out. And that's what was happening. When this program kicked off, a lot of people were being skipped. So I looked at the whole situation and I said to myself, all it was a line you out for the contractor. And what I mean by that, let's take a 800-foot street and say you got 10 houses, 5 on each side. If 2 people recycled out of the 10, you were lucky. So it got to the point where they weren't recycling, so nobody wants to go against the environment, so we cut it out. And we come up with these bins. And let me tell you, that's some problems. It's costing the parish about $250,000 a year because you don't make much on the material. It's an environmental issue, and I know that. But go to some of these bins and see how many people bring tires and stuff they shouldn't bring and pile it up. And we got to go there and clean it. Now, let me give you an example. Years ago, we were trying to be nice. We put out dumpsters throughout the whole parish. You know what they did to the dumpster at Region C on 308 in Lockport? They burnt it one night. So, and Golameta had one. When we had to pick them up, because they wouldn't throw the stuff in the dumpster, they would throw it by the dumpster. And you had to send a crew every Monday morning to go pick it up, clean the mess. So it came to a point where we had to pick them up. And these bins are heading in the same direction. So I just thought I would bring it up for discussion, just throw it around, let the administration look at it and see. Because you're talking about $250,000 a year. And it's more of a mess than us picking it up. And I'm not saying it has to be done. I'm just saying I need for them to look at it and give us a report in the future.
Thank you, Mr. Lorraine. Okay, I'll let everyone have their last moment. If they have anything to add, or if they want to ask the administration anything or any last follow-up, Mr. Lorraine.
Yes, I got three things. Number one, the fishing pier. So you said we need another price. It's 3 months that hurricane hit. There's no reason why we shouldn't have three prices. That needs to be addressed as soon as we can, because that's going on way too long.
Mr. Chairman?
Oh, you want
If
to
I
answer?
can.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chesson.
Yeah, so it took us a little bit, Daniel. We went back to Joe Picciola, who originally designed the boat launch, had them look at it to figure out exactly structurally what was wrong with it. They came up with a set of plans that we used to go get these quotes. So that's why it's taken so long. It wasn't just something that we were dragging our feet. We were actively working on it.
That's number one.
All right?
Number two, what we gonna do with the annex?
I ask you this all the time. You finally gonna let me tear it down?
Do I have a choice?
No, not really. But
You got all kind of people going in there probably at night doing things they shouldn't be doing, and you know that as good as me. I got all them neighbors complaining.
yeah, there's a couple of holes in the roof that were open.
Couple of holes.
After the storm. Yeah, you and I could probably both fit through them.
Wait a minute.
So we're pitching around whether or not we're gonna do an actual project with it, or if it's something that our maintenance contractor can handle, and if we can fit that into the line item to use. So we're trying to figure out how to take it down.
Because, you know, the people that live back there got that neighborhood watch group. And I've been getting a lot of calls. Even got a ladder bar. Some of them windows are open, the air conditions are stolen. It's a mess.
Number three.
At one time, it could have been fixed, but now it's just too far gone. It needs to be torn down. And so that's number two.
Number three.
Number three, item number 9 was pulled. And that's for those tractors, and that's road sales tax too. This opinion, 15-006, says you cannot take no funds from road sales tax 2 and go anywhere else with it. It was a tax from point A to point B. Don't take it to point C. And I'm gonna read this. The council has also inquired whether the parish may use road sales tax 2, rocks and gravel on properties outside the district boundaries. Use of road sales tax 2, rocks, gravel, or any other road sales tax 2 owned property on projects located outside the district boundaries would be prohibited. Now, when are we gonna put that in our little head? And it's prohibited. This is the opinion. I know you're gonna try to get another one.
So this is just for everyone. So this is the one where Mr. Lorraine fought to not get 2 tractors at the Galliano barn.
Right.
Mr. Chesson, do you want to answer his question?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So Daniel, I don't know at what point you're gonna get through your head that we're not taking anything out of the district. Okay, so that, we have to go ask for an opinion because of course you voted against your people by not letting us buy these 2 tractors.
Which are desperately needed as we
Which
go
are
into the
needed.
season. We're going to be behind.
But that opened up an entire can of worms, which has put some other projects in jeopardy because now there's, you know, Lisa, the district attorney's office found some old opinions about district to district transfers. We didn't pull the item because I'm taking them out of the district. We pulled the item because now we have to go to the attorney general's office probably to figure out if district to district transfers are even legitimate. So I have said multiple times, I put it in an email that's public record, it's in writing. The drainage district agreed to pay for 75% of these tractors. We agreed to pay for the other 25%. The auditors have been very clear that we have every right in the world to use road sales tax district 2 funds to buy equipment, i.e. the pickup trucks that we've done earlier this year, all that fun stuff. those tractors are meant to go to Galliana, Daniel. So I don't know why you would vote against the residents of your district and not let them get tractors.
I'm voting against it because it's not right. The drainage district boundaries and the road sales tax 2 boundaries are different boundaries.
Okay.
Remember that. Drainage 1 goes 10 miles north of where road sales tax 2 stops. So you think that makes sense?
Okay.
You're gonna ask, the parish is gonna ask Drainage District 1 to pay 75%? That's a slap in the face.
They're gonna stay in drainage district number
Tonight,
2, Daniel.
you said the library agreed to pay 50% and the Rural Civic Center was gonna pay 50%. Dylan asked me, I said, go to the Drainage District, they're gonna help you. But he didn't tell me it was gonna be 75%. And then you're gonna sit right there in that chair and tell the people of this parish that the parish is participating 25%? They're not.
You told us to ask for them to pay
You're
100%
not.
of it, Daniel.
The road
I
sales tax 2 is
25.
participating. That's not the parish. Y'all are digging in road sales tax 2 like it's nothing. But you know what? Y'all gonna get burnt. You need to stop it.
So here's what I'm gonna
And
do.
don't tell me that they're gonna stay there because we bought 4 trucks. 2 were supposed to stay there, and 2 were supposed to go to Lockport, and 3 went to Lockport, and 1 stayed there.
Did I do
Now,
that?
you want me to believe you?
Did I do that, Mr. Lorraine? Did I make that? Did I send those vehicles to Lockport?
It was done. You should correct it.
I did.
No, you didn't.
One
We
of those
still got 1
In
truck.
Lockport.
We still got 1 truck.
And you got 2 brand new trucks last week that were bought with Road 2. No. But this is what I'm gonna do. So that's fine. I'll buy into your argument. The next time those tractors in Galliana break, we'll waste a whole half a day and I'll drive those 2 tractors to the power line because the low boy was bought with Road 8 and it can't cross the High Lines to go get your tractors.
You can't.
Bring the road grader to Leeville. What are we gonna
That's
do?
parish-wide. We pay more drainage parish-wide taxes than the whole parish.
That low boy truck was bought with Road Sales Tax District A funds when we bonded out that money in 2014.
It's called
So
cooperative endeavor.
I will use Road 2 money to move any piece of equipment now because I can't bring a low bar to Galliana if I use your logic. If you want to continue to hurt your constituents, Mr. Lorraine, I'm fine with that. But don't sit up here and chastise me about trying to do what's right for this parish and spending money that the people of this parish earned and used.
All you got to do is
And the people
follow
in the
opinion
people in the
number,
10th ward.
follow the opinion number 15006, and it's not gonna happen. Don't try to change it, Archie. It well says you cannot get out of the district. You're gonna sit there and tell the people that you participating? Hell, you're not giving a damn penny. When you're taking it out of road sales tax 2 in the drainage district, this parish is not participating at all. Don't sit there and lie to the people.
He's not lying.
Tell them the truth. Tell them the truth.
Stop making accusations of lies.
He's not telling the truth, dog. And you backing him up, and he's not telling the truth.
Get the venom out your heart, Mr. Daniel. He's trying to help the people of this parish.
I understand,
Get
but
the venom
let's
out
do
your
it
heart.
right. Let's do it right. There's a right way to do things, and there's a wrong way to do things. And he's doing it the wrong way. How come he pulled it?
No laws have been broken.
How come he pulled it?
I pulled it, Mr. Lorraine, because of the pot that you stirred on that end with your misfacts, an opinion that talks about taking gravel out of Road Sales Tax District 2 to go put in a pump station somewhere else. You're comparing apples to oranges, Mr. Lorraine. I am doing the right thing. We're gonna go get an AG opinion, and I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna prove to you you're wrong. And then I'm gonna do a bond issue. I'm gonna go buy all kind of equipment for Road 2, which helps the people of this parish, instead of you consistently trying to vote against them and hurting the people of your district. And DeLinns, and Noonies, and Mr. Beck.
You cannot get, no, not Beck. You can't get out the district. That's the point I'm trying to make. You can't get out the district.
Yeah, so that was another false statement. Mr. Grauberry is actually in Drainage District 1, so that was
Yeah,
false.
he's in Drainage District 1.
Yes, he is.
Yeah.
Okay.
All I want to do is get it right. I'm not trying, I'm not voting for it because it's wrong.
Yeah.
And I got it right here. Wait, okay.
That was number 3.
So you're going to go to the Attorney General?
I think we're still on 2, unfortunately.
Good. Let's get the right answer. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. If you're right, but you are wrong, I'm telling you. One more thing.
You said that was item 3, but go ahead.
This is on another note. First of all, there's a lot of rumors going on out there about me, Facebook. I was diagnosed with prostate cancer. Bad news. Good news, it didn't spread. So I go to the doctor tomorrow. I want to thank Dr. Smith. I want to thank Thibodeau Regional, the urologist, Miss Flowers. I want to thank Terrebonne Medical. Now you see how many hospitals I got to deal with. And tomorrow I'll be heading to Tulane in New Orleans. So to set the rumors straight, it's not a 4, it's not a 5, it's not, I don't even know what it is. All I know is I have it, it's contained in the prostate, and hopefully they'll get it out, do whatever we need to do. And I want to thank all the people who have said prayers, cards, whatever. And we'll just put it in God's hand. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lorraine. Ms. Chesson. Mr. Grabert. Good. Mr. Melvin.
Yeah, real quick, I'd already asked about Wilson Street. I just wanted to mention that I did ask about it. And also, I know for future discussion, it puzzles me as to why we have buildings that have issues. I know it's not a perfect world, but I mean, you know, the Egyptian pyramid's been standing there for thousands of years, and we haven't spent money on stuff that's falling apart. Also, and this was dealing with earlier in the meeting, I just wanted to wait to the end, but I just wanted to, you don't hear sincere apologies often. You do, but not often sincere apologies from elected officials. We've heard some, but I wanted to compliment Parish President Archie, because you can slay giants with humility, and it was a very good thing that it was nice to see, because you just don't see that. Thank you.
Agreed. Mr. Grove.
I agree. And Daniel, sorry about your diagnosis, and thank you for sharing that. You will be in family's prayers, and I'm sure a lot of other people. We do argue in here, but we all love you. I want you to know that, as hard as it is to say sometimes. Archie, on the courthouse, okay, you mentioned, I think you said 900,000. That's because that is a lot of money. But when you're dealing with a historical building that is in a lot of bad shape, that could be a Band-Aid. I'm worried. I think it's going to cost a lot of money. I don't think we have maybe even 900,000, Yeah. But that's, keep me posted. Thank you for inviting me to the meeting. But share with me what Kevin sent, I don't think I've seen that yet, just so I can put my eyes on it. But, I trust, I'm glad the process is starting, but 900,000 could get eaten up pretty quick. And do you need a special type of contractor to work on that? We went through just pressure washing.
Yeah.
Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So there were several projects that had spanned from when we were here the last time that Chris Landry, who was our buildings guy for a lot of years, was worried about some piping upstairs, and that proved not to really be an issue. So we had some money that was cobbled together. We were able to put some money in this year's budget to get us to that kind of 900 mark. It's kind of just a dart at the wall number. We'll see what Kevin comes up with, and it may be something where, we do HVAC, windows, and some cosmetic stuff this year, and then just kind of chip away at it at a phased process. I don't think I'm going to take a bite out, I'm not going to eat the whole elephant at one thing. I think it's going to be a slow process as we go through. I don't think there's going to be any issues with any type of special contractor to work on the historic buildings. I think the State Historic Preservation Office we're going to have to get them involved at some point, because there is some standards when you start talking about changing windows and how you reface them to make sure you keep that historic characteristic to the building. I don't think that drives up the cost any. It's not like we have to go back with the old wooden windows. I think we can use some modern stuff, but we're going to chip away at it. But it's a good starting point for us at least.
Okay. And I wanted to thank y'all, and Dylan, thank you for 3185. This guy ain't going away, and neither is the water. The water's up, and when it's dry on one side, not on the other, it's the state's problem. I understand we have more employees at the parish board than the state's got for the whole parish, but this is a DOTD issue, and we got to keep shaking those trees. This is ridiculous, and look, this is a big thing. I've seen in Houma council members mad, you know, I've seen Bo weed eat on the corner. I mean, it's just certain, I mean, easy things. They just put a push board to take away a blind spot. This is something big. It's gonna take some, you know, some work. And it's a shame that we using our money to do it. You know, I'm thankful, you know, and we do it for every district, I know. It's just, keep shaking those trees. I know we got the MPO meeting, you know, please, bring it up, because it's, sometimes the squeaky wheel gets the grease, you know, so. Or hit up the state reps too, you know.
Thanks, Mike. Mr. Wendell?
I'd just like to quickly address Mr. Lorraine, regardless of what we discuss or vote on up here, where we stand politically. I just want to thank you for sharing your story. Nobody likes the C word, and, you know, you be in our thoughts and prayers. And if you need anything now or after any procedures or whatever it is that you're going to have to endure to get through this, please reach out. We all know how to get down the Bayou Road, sales tax 2. We'll go down there. We'll take care of you.
Mr. Adams?
Yeah, I have two things, One's for Mr. President, and it's not up for debate to anything, it's just knowledge from me. So road sales tax too, right? So it's a sales tax. So if, let's say if I go to Fouchon and buy a Coke and some Skittles, right? They get the money, the sales tax, correct? Road sales tax too is in Lafourche Parish? All right, that's all. All right, number 2, I just want to say I have my number 1 fan out there, Ronnie Red. Keep looking good.
All right, thank you, Mr. Adams. Mr. Jones?
All right, I got 4 things, but it's spread across the board. Archie, first thing, a nursing home in North Thibodeau. They got any plans of what they're gonna do with that?
Not that I'm aware of.
Can we find out, because some people have been calling. They got a community neighborhood watch group and some things been going on there, so they want to know. The camera meeting, when is that supposed to be, Austin?
Geez, hold on, let me pull up my calendar. I think it's tomorrow. Yeah. So what Mr. Jones is alluding to is, he had put some money in the budget for, I think what we called, or what we dubbed some crime cameras in Marydale and Abbey. Mike's been a proponent of some cameras at the boat launch in Layton. Jason Robichaud, who's part of our OEP staff, who does a lot of electronics, has been working for a few weeks, well, more than a few weeks, on kind of a system to put up that we can use across the board. The problem we're running into is that the equipment itself is on state contract, very affordable, not something we can't do. The problem we're running into is that to run these cameras, we have 2 options. We can either get a monthly charge for an LTE cell connection for internet to ping the data back, or Jason has been working with both the Sheriff's Office and St. John Sheriff's Office. They have a whole suite of cameras in St. John about beaming some internet off of either the tower at the law enforcement complex, the old Coke plant on Ridgefield, or the tower that's on the old jail. So we scheduled a meeting tomorrow with the Sheriff's Office communications guys, Captain Champagne, Lieutenant Robichaud. We invited Councilman Groh and Councilman Jones in case they wanted to sit in with Jason, myself, to try to figure out exactly how we're going to do this. And in the talk, we're going to have to develop some type of cooperative endeavor agreement with the Sheriff's Office for post-installation monitoring. You know, who's going to house the data, who's going to monitor it, what those costs are, and that sort of thing. So we're going to do that tomorrow at 10:30 at our office in Thibodeau.
Try to make it. Also, Mr. Lafourche, Dylan, the Waverly Road project, the drainage project, can we get an update on that?
Yes, sir. So I spoke most recently with Heather Klingman with DDG. Now Lafourche Levy District has contracted them to do the work. They are still in discussion with landowners and trying to acquire right-of-way. We have found right-of-ways on our end that we can go and dig the ditch, but as far as it getting to the main drainage outfall, that's going to require acquiring of right-of-ways by the North Lafourche Levy District. So we're kind of at a halt right now, but North Lafourche Levy District and DDG are working to get that accomplished.
Okay, great. That's good. I'm good.
So you got Mr. Jones? Mr. Chesson?
One more thing, and Daniel, I get heated. It's a love-hate relationship. I love him. He mostly hates me sometimes, but we're going to be praying for you, Daniel. I mean, I scooted out of here early. A couple weeks ago, I lost my father-in-law to cancer a few weeks ago. So it's a horrible disease that affects a lot of people in our community. So you and your wife and the family is really going to be in our thoughts and prayers.
Thank you, Mr. Chesson. And with that said, I want to thank Dylan and Mitch and Archie for continuing that uphill battle to serve the people of Lower Lafourche. don't give up, don't get frustrated. I know it does at times, but you can't walk away from those people. So thank you for continue to push. I do want to mention, I would like to have allowed Ms. Becky Toops, and I should have when the vote came up, but on Saturday, February 6th, from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. will be an open house at the Lafourche Parish Community Center in Lockport. So if anyone's available, wants to tour the facility, Saturday, February 6th, 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. open house. The last thing I want to say is back to health, and certainly we wish Mr. Lorraine all the health in the world, as well as everyone else in this room and in our great parish. And I will say that for everyone to please keep COVID alive in your mind. Get the vaccine if it's possible. I lost yet another friend, 58-year-old Baton Rouge police officer Charles Dotson. Served with him in the Marine Corps for Desert Storm. He was First Sergeant Dotson, and he lost his battle with COVID this past Saturday at the young age of 58. So COVID's real. It's still here. Please protect yourself and take the precautions you have to. Item L, adjournment. On a motion by Mr. Adams, second by Mr. Jones. No further business. Lafourche Parish Council regular meeting of January 26, 2021 will be adjourned at 19:10. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes by a vote of 9 yeas, 0 nays.